Hi, it's Miss Melissa with the Oosterhout Free Library and the new book in our Book Bites series, Knights of the Kitchen Table. You might have heard of Knights of the Round Table. If not, you will in a second. And it's by John Scieszka, and it's by Puffin Books. And it's the first in a series my kids and I love called the Time Warp Trio series. We have lots of them in the library. You might have also seen the cartoon. Knights of the Kitchen Table. Chapter 1. Halt, vile knaves, prepare to die. Is he talking to us? Asked Fred. I looked around the small clearing. A dirt path went from one end to the other. Fred, Sam, and I stood at one end. A large guy on a black horse stood at the other. He was dressed from head to toe in black armor like you see in those books about castles and knights. I don't see any other vile knaves around, I said. Sam cleaned his glasses on his t-shirt and took a look at the end of the path. Yes, there is a black knight down there. The sun glinted off a very real and very sharp-looking sword hanging from the black knight's side. And yes, he looks like he's planning to hurt us, said Sam. It's not my fault, I said. I told Fred not to open it. You did not, said Fred. Did too, did not, did too, did not. Excuse me, guys, said Sam. Can we discuss this later? I think that large, angry man in the black can is getting ready to kill us now. The Black Knight lowered his lance and set his shield in front of him. Hello there, Mr. Knight, sir, I called across the clearing. My name is Joe. My friends and I seem to have lost our way from my birthday party. If you could just take us to the nearest phone. None shall pass, boomed the Black Knight. If you could just point the way to New York, we'll be on our way, and none shall pass. I think I heard that somewhere before, said Sam. Thy tongue and garb are passing strange, said the knight. Methinks thy band hail not from this shore. What'd he say? Asked Fred. He says we look funny, and we're probably not from around here, I said. And right you are, Sir Knight, I called across the hearing. I threw in that sir part because I always talk that way in my books. We are not from around here, and if we would just as soon get out of here. Now, if you would just point that long, sharp stick of yours. Silence, infidels, or mayhap enchanters, in thy weird robes and boots. We looked at each other. We were all wearing jeans, t-shirts, and sneakers. We looked at the Black Knight. He had on pointed metal shoes, armored pants, an armored coat with hinges at the elbows and shoulders, and a huge metal helmet that looked like a black bell, all topped off with a fluffy black feather. His horse was likewise done up in a black skirt, a black saddle big as an armchair, and a matching helmet thing with a fluffy black feather. Weird robes and boots, said Sam. Look who's talking. The Tin Man with feathers. He even dresses his horse funny. Enough of thy evil spells and chants, magicians. Prepare to die. I think I like none shall pass better than that prepare to die stuff, said Sam. The Black Knight flipped down the visor on his helmet. Do something, said Fred. Like what? I said. Like, say some magic words? The Black Knight spurred his horse into a trot. Please, thank you. Not those magic words, you idiot. Real magic words, like the ones your Uncle Joe uses. Abracadabra? The horse picked up speed. Hocus pocus, I shouted. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. The Black Knight thundered towards us, his lance pointed directly at us. We were about to get killed more than 1,000 years before we were even born. Chapter 2. But before the Black Knight arrives, maybe I should explain how 3 regular guys happened to find themselves facing death by shish kebab. It all started with my birthday party. My 2 best friends, Fred and Sam, were over at my house. We were just sitting around the kitchen doing birthday kinds of things. You know, eating junk, drinking soda, looking at the baseball my sister gave me. My mom started scooping up wrapping paper to throw away. That's when Sam found the other present. Hey, Joe. Here's one you missed. Sam held up a small rectangular present. It was wrapped in black and gold paper. Who's it from? My mom read the card and made a sour face. Your Uncle Joe. Wow! Uncle Joe is the best uncle anybody could have. He was a magician for a traveling circus, and his presents were always the best. Uncle Joe's stage name was Joe the Magnificent. I was named after him. Before he went off the deep end, my mother always said. The card said, Happy birthday, magician in training. Be careful what you wish for. You might get it. This is weird paper, said Sam, wriggling the present back and forth in the light. I bet it's one of those disappearing coin trick boxes, said Fred. I took the present. Maybe it's a magic cape that can make things disappear. That would have come in handy last year, said Mom. You could have used it to make all those rabbits disappear. She still had her sour face on. Well, that wasn't really Uncle Joe's fault, I said. I gave the hat the wrong command. Come on already, open it, said Fred. I pulled back the black and gold paper and lifted it up. It's just a book, said Fred, rolling my baseball around the table. And it was a book, but it wasn't like any book I'd ever seen before. It was such a dark, dark blue, it almost looked black, like the sky at night. It had gold stars and moons along the back edge and twisting silver designs on the front and back that looked like writing from a long time ago. I looked closer and read the title. The Book. Great name for a book, said Sam. Mom looked relieved. Hey, let me see. Fred dropped the baseball on the kitchen table and grabbed the book out of my hand. Wait a minute. Be careful. Fred opened the book. There was a picture of a guy on a black horse standing on a path at the edge of a small clearing. He was dressed from head to toe in black armor like you see in those books about knights and castles. He didn't look very happy. Oh man, said Fred. Wouldn't it be great to see knights and all that stuff for real? Wisps of pale green mist began to swirl around the kitchen chairs. Joseph Arthur, close that book and stop that smoking this instant, yelled my mom. I grabbed the book and slammed it shut. The mist rose over the table, the stove, the refrigerator. Mom and the kitchen disappeared. And for just a second, I got that feeling you get when you dream you're falling. Then the mist and the feeling were gone. And Fred, Sam, and I were standing on the edge of a clearing. We stood at one end of a small path. At the other end stood the Black Knight. Chapter 3. The Black Knight thundered towards us, his lance pointed directly at us. Wait, I've got it, said Fred. And he grabbed our arms and pulled us together. You guys stay close. On the count of 3, Joe, you and Sam jump to the left. I'll jump to the right. 1. The Black Knight was so close I could see the straps on his armor. 2. I could see the buckles on the straps. 3. We jumped. The Black Knight clanked by like a runaway train. Strike 1, said Sam. Fred jumped back in the path. He stuck his thumbs in his ears and waggled his fingers. Na 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 na. You missed us. Na 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 na. Fred, are you nuts? What are you doing? I yelled. Let's get out of here before he gets that horse turned around. That's just what we want, said Fred. He's too heavy and slow to hit us. We'll wear him out. Then he yelled at the Black Knight. Come on, you big tin can. Give it another shot. Sam and I stood back on the path. Oh, great idea, Fred, said Sam. He didn't kill us the first time, so let's give him another chance. I wonder if his mother ever told him it's not polite to point sharp things at other people. Stand back, you cursed knaves, roared the Black Knight. He seemed even more unhappy than he was before. Yeah, yelled Fred. Come and get us, Tin Man. The Black Knight yelled back. Prepare to die, foul-mouthed enchanters. I know you are, but what am I, said Sam. Same thing on 3, said Fred. 1, the Black Knight trotted towards us. 2, we could hear his saddle squeaking and his horse puffing and huffing. 3, we jumped. The lance whistled through nothing but air. Strike 2, called Sam. 1 more ought to just about do it, said Fred, picking up a hefty stick. And then he yelled, Your mother was a sardine can. The Black Knight turned and raised his visor. He didn't look mad anymore. He looked positively crazed. Demons, sorcerers, foul wizards, vanish not into the mist, stand and die. I really wish you had stopped using that D word, said Sam. The Black Knight kicked his horse into a trot. 1, he aimed his lance at us. 2, his horse stumbled and wheezed. 3, we jumped. The horse clomped slowly past us. The Black Knight waved his lance weakly over our heads. Fred jumped up, swung his stick with all his might, and whacked the back of the Black Knight's helmet. Bang, 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 bang. The helmet rang like 1,000 church bells. The Black Knight sat up straight, wobbled, and then fell to the ground with an armored crash. His horse stopped and lowered his head, sweating mightily and still gasping for air, but looking pretty relieved about dropping its heavyweight passenger. Going, gone, that's out of here, said Sam. Now let's do likewise before Mr. Fun wakes up and starts with that prepare to die stuff again. No hurry now, I said. With all that armor on, he won't be able to get up by himself when he does come to. Fred gave the fallen Black Knight another whack with his stick and then planted his sneaker on his chest. All hail, Sir Fred, I said. All hail, Sir Eek, said Sam. Sir Eek? Sam pointed to the edge of the clearing. 3 more knights were on horses with swords drawn, galloping right down to us. Chapter 4. The 3 knights charged. 10 feet away they stopped. The lead knight, carrying a white shield with a red cross, raised a huge sword over his head and said, Hail, Sir Fred! Hail, Sir Fred! Said the 2 knights behind him. Whoosh! Said Sam. Whoosh! Said the tall knight in the red cross shield. He means whoosh and greetings, Sir Knight. We are glad to see you, I said. Praise Jesu, but you, sir, speak fair strange as I dress. You must be very strong magic to vanquish yon Black Knight with a mere oaken staff. The pile of armor wriggled a leg and moaned. For he hath slain many of our good knights for the Round Table. Really? The Round Table? I said. I know you of our fellowship? What did he say? Asked Fred. Have we ever heard of them? I whispered. And then I answered, Are you kidding? King Arthur and all that stuff? Of course we've heard of you guys. Kidding? Stuff? What saith he? Asked the Red Cross Knight's friend. Methinks they know of us, whispered the tall one. Sure, I said, I've read all about you guys. The Sword and the Stone, Lancelot and Guinevere, Merlin the Magician. Read? Thou reads the written word as Merlin does? Said the knight. Well, mostly Daredevil, Superman, and X-Men, said Sam. X-Men? Asked the White Knight's pal. Books of spells or fellow wizards, no doubt, said the White Knight. Faith, it must be a sign. You enchanters 3 have been sent to deliver us of our troubles. I am Sir Lancelot. These are my companions, Sir Percival and the Green Knight. Sir Lancelot? I gasped. This guy was supposed to be the greatest knight who ever lived, except for maybe his son, Sir Galahad. And here he was, asking us to help him. Well, I am Sir Joe the Magnificent, I said, borrowing my uncle's stage name. And these are my companions, Sir Fred the Awesome and Sir Sam the Unusual. Sam gave me a nasty look. Welcome, enchanters. We have not a moment to lose, said Lancelot. Camelot is besieged by Swamag the dragon from the west and by Belob the giant of the east. Mount behind us. We ride at once. Huh? Said Fred, still striking a heroic pose in the Black Knight's chest. He says if we hitch a ride with them, we can go to King Arthur's castle and fight a dragon and a knight. That's great, said Sam. You invite us to a birthday party, almost get us run through by a Black Knight, and now you get us into a fight with a dragon and a giant? Remind me not to come to any more of your parties, Sir Joe the Magnificent. We hopped on the horses behind Sir Lancelot, Sir Percival, and the Green Knight. But dragons and giants and things like that aren't for real, said Fred. I didn't think the Knights of the Round Table were for real either, I said. But if they're not, who are we riding behind? And where are they going? Chapter 5. Fred, Sam, and I stood in the middle of the great hall of Camelot. Torches sputtered on the stone walls that disappeared high into the darkness above. Knights and ladies dressed in robes and cloaks of all colors surrounded us. Dogs and little kids ran in and out of the crowd. "Welcome, enchanters," said a tall, serious-looking fellow. It had to be King Arthur. Who else would be wearing a crown and sitting at a throne in the middle of Camelot? "Sir Lancelot tells me that you have rid us of the scourge, the Black Knight. How can we show our thanks?" "Oh, thankest you, your honor, your sire, your majesty," I said in my best old-timey English. "That was mostly Sir Fred's work." Fred raised his stick and took a bow. The crowd oohed and awed. "Maybe you could help us, Sir King, sire," I said. "See, we're in the middle of my birthday party at my house, and we'd like to get back before the ice cream melts. Do you know the way to New York?" King Arthur slid his crown back and scratched his head. "York, yes. But New York, New York?" "Yeah, that's it," said Sam. "The name ringeth no chimes. Merlin, knowest thou place, New York?" An old guy in a long blue-black robe and a tall cone hat shuffled forward. He looked us over with flashing green eyes that gave me the willies. "I know not New York, but methinks these three be poor enchanters who cannot find their own way home." The surrounding crowd murmured. "Nasty old coot," whispered Fred. "Who asked him to butt in? Maybe I should just give him a whack with my stick before he gives us any trouble." "Another great idea from the mind of Sir Fred," whispered Sam. "Hit the king's magician. I'm sure he won't mind. He'll probably reward us with a place to stay for the rest of our lives. A place like a dungeon, maybe." I could see we were losing the crowd. I had to do something. "Oh, we're enchanters, all right," I cried. "I am Sir Joe the Magnificent." The crowd awed. We had them back. "Would you show us some small spell of enchantment for our amusement, Sir Joe the Magnificent?" asked Merlin. Then he stood there, giving us one of those looks teachers give when they ask you a question they know you could never answer in a million years. "Spell, you say?" My palms got sweaty while I stalled for time trying to think. "Yes, a little spell." "Spell? Sure, said Sam. "Sir Joe the Magnificent here is a regular magician." I thought of Uncle Joe. "Magic? Of course. Bring me cards." The court jester brought a pack of cards with all sorts of crazy pictures on them. There were no numbers or anything that I could tell, just lots of strange pictures. I shuffled the cards and pressed the deck into my forehead like the real Joe the Magnificent did in his shows. "Yes, I am feeling the power of the cards now. Could I have a volunteer from the audience?" The Queen stepped forward. She stood right next to me, and I thought I would faint. She was so beautiful. No wonder Lancelot was crazy about her. I reshuffled the cards and tried to concentrate on the trick. "Just a deck of cards, nothing up my sleeve. Now you see 'em, now you don't." I fanned the deck downward. "Pick a card, any card." Sam groaned. Guinevere picked. "Show everyone the card, please." And while everyone looked at the Queen's card, I snuck a peek at the card I would put right in front of hers. It's a guy hanging upside down. "Now place it back in the deck, and I will have the cards speak to me and tell me which of them you picked." I carefully shuffled the deck to keep the Hanged Man in front of Queen Guinevere's card. Then I muttered all the magic words I could think of. "Hocus pocus, presto, change-o, open sesame, the cards are about to speak." I flipped the cards slowly and made a big deal of listening to each one like Sir Joe did. The crowd wasn't making a sound. I flipped the Hanged Man. I flipped the next card, listened to it for an extra second, and then held it up. "Your card, my lady." "The magician card. 'Tis truth," said Guinevere. The crowd cheered. Guinevere kissed me. I turned to jelly. Faith, sir, a fair little trick, croaked that killjoy Merlin. But can thou do true enchantment? A spell to change man to frog or to vanish in thin air? The challenge hung there like a bad smell in a phone booth. The crowd went silent, waiting for our answer. Then suddenly a messenger burst through the door at the end of the great hall. Your Majesty, your Majesty! Blob the giant stands at the very castle door. He demands 3 fair damsels to eat instantly. King Arthur looked worried. The fair damsels in the crowd looked worse than that. Another messenger dashed into the hall, nearly running over the first. Smoag the dragon has seen flying from the west. He will be at the castle walls in minutes. Ah, said Merlin, with that evil teacher voice, and smile again. Here's the perfect test for our enchanters. Go ahead and hit him with your stick, Fred, said Sam. At least we'll be safe from giants and dragons down in the dungeons. Fred lifted his stick. No, we can't do that, I said. What do you suggest we do, Mr. Magnificent? I looked at Merlin, then at Queen Guinevere. I think we should go find out if dragons and giants are for real. So in our next Book Bites, we'll find out if giants and dragons are for real. And you can pick up this book, other time work books, or any book at the library by calling us for no contact pickup. And don't forget about the Cloud Library, a free app you can download with lots of choices.